بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back once again to our Tafseer classes. We are doing the kitab known as Tafseer Al-Qurtubi of Imam Al-Qurtubi rahimahullah. We had, unlike normal where we would begin from the beginning of a kitab, for the purpose of touching on tafsir from other parts of the Quran, we decided to start from the 30th part of the Quran, the short surahs, the surahs that everybody read in your daily salah, that most people have learned, memorized, and read at least. So we had done Surah An-Naba, and we had just done 12 ayat of Surah An-Nazi'at before we had stopped prior to Ramadan. So that is where we are continuing on from tonight, inshallah ta'ala. But before continuing on, if anybody can hear me clearly and that the audio is not too soft, just send me a message, please, just so that I know that we are working properly here. Okay, all good. Jazakallah khair. Okay, so as is normal, like I'll always say, whenever we are doing the classes, anytime anybody has any questions, you're more than welcome to ask your question during the class. You don't have to wait until afterwards. But if you do decide to wait until the end of the class, fine by me too. But it's always better to ask it at the point so that it can be explained from that point. And never feel shy to ask a question, because maybe you may think something is silly or simple, but for another person, it may not even have occurred to them. So by asking questions, everybody benefits. So that being that, let us begin. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. We are starting from ayah number 13 of Surah An-Nazi'at. So continuing on, he says, فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. He said, ذكر جل ثناؤه سهولة البعث عليه فقال فإنما هي زجرة واحدة. The ayah we are dealing with is فإنما هي زجرة واحدة, wherein Allah says it is but a one single shout. And we'll go into the tafsir in a moment. But following up, just to recap, we had previously done in the previous ayat of Surah An-Nazi'at, it was speaking about Allah taking an oath by the various malaika, and then coming to the point of what the mushrikeen, they used to say that, you're saying we're going to be brought back after death, we're going to die, we're going to turn into dust and bones and stuff, and we're going to come back to life again. I mean, if we were to come back to life, we're going to be taken to task, because then the resurrection is real, and that will be a loss for us. So Allah now goes on after making mention of what they would say. So Allah is saying the reality. He says, ذَكَرَ جَلَّ ثَنَاؤُهُ. Allah Jalla Thana'uhu makes mention of how easy the resurrection is. So Allah says, فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. That the resurrection, for Allah, it is one zajra. Allah does not even need that, but that is how simple the resurrection will be. One shout, one blowing of the trumpet and the sur, and everybody will return to life. He says, وَرَوَى الضَّحَّاكَ عَنِ ابْنِ عَبَّاسٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمَا قَالَ نَفْخَةُ وَاحِدَةٌ. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he clarifies it. He says, زَجْرَةُ وَاحِدَةٌ means نَفْخَةُ وَاحِدَةٌ. Nafkha means a blowing, the blowing of the trumpet. So it will be one blowing of the trumpet, and everything which ever lived from the beginning of creation right up until the last thing that will come to be until the end of creation, in one blowing of that trumpet, once everything will return back to life again. فَإِذَا هُمْ أي الخلائق أجمعون بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. This now follows on to the 14th ayah, and Allah says, فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ, ay all of creation, they will be by As-Saahirah. Now, the next page and a half that we're going to touch on will be the various meanings of what Sahira actually is. So the first meaning is أي على وجه الأرض. So just for me to give a brief translation, فإذا هم بساهرة, so that you're not lost as we move forward with the tafsir. فإذا هم بساهرة means then they, the people, everything that Allah has resurrected, they will be bisahira. Now you'll see many different tafasir, but as a general standard understanding of the ayah, it would mean that everybody will be resurrected onto the face of the earth. I'll use that as the standardized translation, and you'll see the tafsir as we move forward. So it says, أي على وجه الأرض بعد ما كانوا في بطنها. That everybody, with that one blowing of the trumpet, everyone that was under the ground will now be above the ground. You know, sometimes people have this mentality, this idea of a zombie apocalypse, this, you know, ghouls and all type of people coming crawling, break through their coffin and push the sand and then crawl out and drag their old limbs with them. They tend to have that sort of a mentality that resurrection takes place in a sort of situation. Everybody has to claw their way out of the ground. Not at all. فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. You've been reduced to dust. You died 14,000 years ago. There's not, people don't even know your name, that you ever existed. There's no trace of you. There's no carbon footprint, nothing to show that you existed. فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. Once, just like that, and there you are on top of the earth. Not that you have to come and, you know, crawl back out and your body must come back to you. Nothing. That simple. It is for Allah to return you back to life after you had been reduced to dust. In fact, you weren't even dust anymore. Even your dust had disappeared. Then so simple it is for Allah to return you back to how you were. قال الفراء سميت بهذا الاسم لأن فيها نوم الحيوان وسهرهم. Imam al-Farrah, who was one of the famous linguists, he said that the earth, the top part of the earth is known as As-Saahirah. Why? He says لأن فيها نوم الحيوان وسهرهم. That because the creatures, they sleep on the earth, and it's the way they are awake upon as well. So therefore, one of the names of the earth, the top layer of the earth, is As-Saahirah. He says, وَالْعَرَبُ تُسَمَّى الْفَلَاةَ وَوَجْهَ الْأَرْضِ سَاهِرَةٌ. He says that the Arabs, they refer to an open place, an open piece of land, and the top of the earth, they refer to both of this as Sahira. So, فَإِذَا هُمْ بِسَاهِرَةٍ. They will be in awake in an open stretch of land, if you understand this meaning being given over here. بمعنى ذات سهر لأنه يسهر فيها خوفا منها فوصفها بصفة ما فيها. He says that ذات سهر, it is the people will be awake out of fear for what is happening, that they've been brought back to life. So the day has been this فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. It, you know, it opens so many facets from a translation. Even though from an English perspective it may seem simple, but the vastness contained within this word Sahira, why Allah decided to choose this when Allah could have said فَإِذَا هُمْ عَلَى وَجْهِ الْأَرْضِ, or any of 110 other words, but Allah chose the word Sahira. Now, you know, you have people and they use the term woke today. You know, yeah, you're awake, you're aware of things, the wool is not over your eyes, and all of these things are also contained in the word sahar. If you are a person of poetry, you may have come across a line of poetry of Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, where Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah said, بقدر الكد تكتسب المعالي ومن طلب العلا سهر الليالي. بقدر الكد تكتسب المعالي. According to the amount of effort that you put in, that is the level that you will go to. ومن طلب العلا سهر الليالي. And he who seeks greatness, he should spend the nights awake. So sahira means to stay awake, specifically also at night. So what you are understanding here is the word sahar, sahira. It's all the same root word. It's the same thing being spoken about. وَمَنْ طَلَبَ الْعُلَى سَهِرَ اللَّيَالِ. That when you, and obviously don't mean you're sitting up at night playing games, watching movies, doing things like that. Rather, it means you spending the night awake in doing ibadat. You are spending the night awake in research and you know, good deeds and things like this. Then you will attain a high rank because you were studying actually at night and not spending the night away in a shisha bar, smoking there and all things of that sort. So that is Sahira al-Layali. So coming back to As-Sahira, that's what we were speaking about. So he says, واستدل ابن عباس والمفسرون بقول أمية ابن أبي الصلت. Hazrat Abdullah ibn Abbas and many of the other Mufassirun, in order to get this tafsir that they came to, they used as proof the statement of one of the poets whose name was Umayyah ibn Abi Salt. He said, وَفِيهَا لَحْمُ سَاهِرَةٍ وَبَحْرٍ وَمَا فَاهُ بِهِ لَهُمُ مُقِيمُ. And you know, as is normal, we're not going to delve into the poetry aspect of things like this, because when the poetry of Jahiliyyah days are being used. It is to show deep meaning of Arabic, and to give that across in English often don't come across that well. So we tend to skip this. He says, وَقَالَ آخَرُ يَوْمَ ذِي قَارٍ لِفَرَسِهِ أقدم محاج إنها الأساورة ولا يهولنك رجل نادرة فإنما قصرك ترب الساهرة ثم تعود بعدها في الحافرة من بعد ما صرت عظاما ناخرة. Okay, we did do that عظاما ناخرة in the earlier part of our classes of Surah Al-Nazi'at. Moving on, he says وفي الصحاح يقال الساهور ظل الساهرة وهي وجه الأرض. He said that the word sahur, it refers to the shadow of the sahira, which is the face of the earth. وَمِنْهُ قَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. So I'm not going to repeat myself 110 times over because even though the tafsir is very repetitive here to show all the various opinions, which comes down to the same thing at the end of the day. But in any case, قال أبو كبير الهذلي يرتدن ساهرة كأن جميمها وعميمها أسداف ليل مظلم ويقال الساهور كالغلاف للقمر يدخل فيه إذا كسف وأنشدوا قول أمية بن أبي الصالح قمر وساهور يسل ويغمد. Okay, he says another opinion now with regards to sahur. He says it is like a covering for the moon يدخل فيها إذا كسف, that when the moon is eclipsed, it's as if, to think of it this way, the pocket and the moon goes into a pocket. If you've seen how the eclipse is, it's like you see the moon, you see the sun, and then it's like you see it enter into, the dark part. So that dark part is this ghilaf. So they taking the word sahur from there. So sahur, it's opposite of sahira. So the same thing as that was just mentioned above. Okay, وأنشدوا لآخر من في وصف امرأة كأنها عرق سام عند ضاربه أو شقة خرجت من جوف ساهور يريد شقة القمر وقيل الساهرة هي الأرض البيضاء. Now we come to a new opinion. الساهرة here, according to this opinion, says الأرض البيضاء, a white piece of land. وروى الضحاك عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال أرض من فضة لم يعصى الله جل ثناؤه عليها قط خلقها حينئذ. Imam al-Dhahhak narrates from Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما, who said that فإذا هم بالساهرة, that Sahira is a land made out of silver, a piece of land which will be made out of silver. لم يعصى الله جل ثناؤه عليها قط. No one has ever disobeyed Allah on that piece of land ever. Like, unlike on this earth, people have disobeyed Allah all over the place. But on that piece of land that Allah will resurrect everyone on, never was a sin committed on that piece of land. خَلَقَهَا حِينَئِذٍ. Allah will create it there and then, specifically for the purpose of resurrection. That's one opinion. وَقِيلَ أَرْضٌ جَدَّدَهَا اللَّهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. There's another opinion which says it is a land that Allah will renew on the day of Qiyamah. وقيل الساهرة اسم الأرض السابعة يأتي بها الله تعالى فيحاسب عليها الخلائق وذلك حين تبدل الأرض غير الأرض. Another opinion says that As-Saahirah is the name of the seventh earth. Now, there's, 7 heavens and 7 earths. It's you read about it, samawati sab'i, it says 7 heavens, but there's also the 7 earths as well. So the name of the 7th earth is As-Saahirah, according to this opinion over here. So Allah will resurrect everybody onto As-Saahirah, and it is on there that Allah will take the reckoning. And that is حين تبدل الأرض غير الأرض. This is what Allah mentions in another ayah of the Quran. يوم تبدل الأرض غير الأرض والسماوات وبرزوا لله الواحد القهار. So that Allah will change the earth to غير الأرض, a different earth. والسماوات, and the heavens as well. But anyway, we'll come to that tafsir on that ayah when we get there. But any case, so this is now another opinion to say that As-Saahirah is a specific place, it is a specific earth, at least the 7th earth. وقال الثوري الساهرة أرض الشام. Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, he said that As-Saahirah is the land of Sham. Sham is what is known in English as the Levant, which is Syria, Jordan, Palestine, Lebanon, that entire area is known as Sham. And according to Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, that whole area is where Allah will gather everyone of all of creation on that portion of land. And hold this just in the back of your mind, hold that thought for a moment, because it may come. How is that possible? And this will explain it now shortly. Wahb ibn Munabbih, Imam Wahb ibn Munabbih, one of the famous ulama, he said, Jabalu Bayt al-Maqdis. He said that Allah will resurrect everyone on As-Saahirah, and As-Saahirah is a mountain in Bayt al-Maqdis, a mountain in the Bayt al-Maqdis, which is once again Sham. So both the opinions are saying it is in Sham. Now, Uthman ibn Abil Atika, and this is where the thing is explained, to put it in simple terms, why I said hold that thought. He says, إنه اسم مكان من الأرض بعينه بالشام وهو السقع الذي بين جبل أريحة وجبل حسان يمده الله كيف يشاء. He says, Imam Uthman ibn Abi Atika, he said that it is the name of a specific place, specifically in Sham already. It is a portion which is between the mountain of Ariha and the mountain of Hassan. And Allah will extend this piece of land however Allah wishes it to be. So now a person's mind may be thinking, we're talking, the world currently has what, 7, 8, 9, 10 billion, however many people, they just come with these census and say how many there are. But that's right now. How many people haven't died over all the eons and centuries and decades and generations and things that have passed by? And every single person and creature and jinn and everything will be resurrected on that one piece of land. How is that possible? When just the people alone today would fill that piece of land and need 10 times that amount or 100 times that amount to gather everybody on that place. So the thing is that Allah who has created the earth is that same Allah who will turn that one piece of earth big enough for everybody to be able to fit on it. So that's the opinion of Imam Uthman ibn Abil Atika, which is, you can understand that Imam Sufyan al-Thawri and Imam Wahb ibn Munabbih and others were of a similar opinion as well, despite not having said it in so many words. This is generally an understood thing, that wherever it be that Allah will resurrect everyone, whether it be on this earth, whether it be on a different earth, whether it be on a piece of land, whether it be on a piece of silver, whatever it is, Allah will stretch that one piece so that everybody and everything will be able to fit on it. Now we come to another opinion. Imam Qatada, rahimahullah, he said, "Hiya Jahannam." أي فإذا هؤلاء الكفار في جهنم. He now interprets the ayah slightly different. He is taking it as following up from the previous ayah. The mushrikeen were now saying, if we are brought back to life, it's going to be a loss for us and everything like this. So he's saying that Allah is now actually replying to them. That Allah is saying, فَإِنَّمَا هِيَ زَجْرَةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ. They're saying this, but it will be one zajra, one blow, and they will all be فَإِذَا هُمْ بِالسَّاهِرَةِ. Then they're not going to be just brought back to life, but he say they will actually be brought already into Jahannam. Obviously, it's not saying there's going to be no qiyamah, there's no reckoning. He's not denying all of that, but he's saying is that it will be so quick, and next thing you'll be there in Jahannam. They will be, before you know it, that's your abode. You thought it was not going to be resurrected or anything. Yeah, you are resurrected. You've answered, and there's your abode in Jahannam that you have wrought with your own hands and earned with your own hands. وإنما قيل لها ساهرة لأنهم لا ينامون عليها حينئذ. Now he says here that why is this part, or why is Jahannam also referred to as Sahira? Because people will not sleep in Jahannam. There will be no sleep in Jahannam. Obviously, Jahannam is a place of punishment. So obviously, what is sleep? Sleep is a means of rest, taking it easy, chilling over there. But Jahannam is not a place of chilling. Jahannam is not a place of ease and comfort and, sipping your pina coladas over there. You're not having such things in Jahannam. So, while kuffar may make jokes about Jahannam as though, they came in hell, and then the devil said you can make a phone call, and then they said, oh, well, South Africa is in hell anyway. They may make jokes about things like that, but as far as Islam is concerned, it's the most serious of serious things. But anyway, That's one of the reasons why As-Saahirah. That's why, when you look, why did Allah choose the word Sahira and not the word, like I say, ala wajhil ard? Because it would have come to the same thing from if we want to take the simplified translation. But you getting all of this various tafasir out of the fact that one word that Allah had decided to use here has got so much extra meaning attached to it that you can find multiple meanings to draw from that one same ayah. Anyway, moving on, he says وقيل الساهرة بمعنى الصحراء على شفير جهنم أي يوقفون بأرض القيامة فيدوم السهر حينئذ. Another opinion says الساهرة means a piece of land, an open desert on the lip of Jahannam, thereby you see Jahannam in front of you. And يوقفون بأرض القيامة, they will be standing on the plains of Qiyamah, and فيدوم السهر حينئذ, they'll be permanently in a state of wakefulness there. And like I've mentioned before in the past, Jahannam is not a place. It's commonly thought of that Jahannam is a place. Jahannam is more than a place, because Jahannam is a thing, a living, breathing, moving creature that can speak and see and everything of the sort like this. So Jahannam is waiting for them. Malaika are holding Jahannam back with thousands of chains, and Jahannam breaks free from Malaika. So, this Jahannam is waiting for the people. Nobody's going to take the chance to go and take a nap on the day of Qiyamah while seeing Jahannam waiting for them. If somebody see a dog over there, they're not going to take a chance of resting in case the dog bites them. What still when Jahannam is waiting there for you? That's another opinion. So moving on. ويقال الساهرة الأرض البيضاء المستوية سميت بذلك لأن السراب يجري فيها من قولهم عين ساهرة جارية الماء وفي ضدها نائمة. Okay, he says, another opinion here says As-Saahirah means a white flat land. He says the reason why it is named this because As-Sarab, the sand, it blows around. He says like Ainun Sahira. Yeah, Ain is not meaning in the meaning of eye, but it's meaning of a like a pond, a lake, a large body of water, so to speak. So he says Jariyatul Ma. Ainun Sahira means moving water. That's now another opinion, that it is a flat piece of land that is, like you see the sea in front of you, flat, open like that. In other words, it will be flat, open, and white like that. Just another opinion. He says, anyway, قال الأشعث بن قيس وصاهرة يضحى السراب مجللة لأقطارها قد جئتها متلثمة أو لأن سالكها لا ينام خوف الهلاكة. Basically making a long story short, he says the person who's on a ship, if you are and the water is throwing you around, in other words, you are, while you're traveling on the sea, you are maneuvering your ship. You don't take a chance to sleep out of fear of the fact that you may be destroyed. Let's put it this way: the captain of the ship will steer the ship. You may crash it against rocks, rip the bottom out, and everybody drown over there. So somebody has to steer the ship, and that person can't sleep. So out of fear for destruction, and he's saying that As-Saahirah, that's one of the meanings contained within it as well. So all of that, for the last 20-something minutes, we touched on tafsir of simply 2 ayat, and that is now finally the end of that portion of the tafsir. The next portion now comes to a whole gathering of ayat, because now is a new, the topic of the surah is shifting. We were speaking about mushrikeen, kuffar, the disbelief in the resurrection, and Allah refuting them and everything. And now we are shifting to a new point. And this is where ayah 15 to 26, this entire portion is dealing with one particular topic, which we're not exactly going to get into, but let's just do, we've got 5 minutes left. So let's read at least the ayat and maybe the first paragraph here, so that we're not in the cold and know nothing about where we are heading. In any case, he says, قوله تعالى هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى وأهديك إلى ربك فتخشى فأراه الآية الكبرى فكذب وعصى ثم أدبر يسعى فحشر فنادى فقال أنا ربكم الأعلى فأخذه الله نكال الآخرة والأولى إن في ذلك لعبرة لمن يخشى. These 10 ayat basically that we have done here, it will be one singular portion that the next few pages will deal with just this. So just to go through the basic translations, just so we are understanding what is the topic. So Allah says, هل أتاك حديث موسى? As the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam reached you. إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى. When Allah had called him at that sacred valley known as Tuwa. اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. And Allah told Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, go to Fir'aun because he has transgressed. What was this? But anyway, before that, Allah says, فقل هل لك إلى أن تزكى. Come to Fir'aun and tell him, would you be willing to purify and rectify yourself and leave behind this evil? Not just, even Fir'aun in all his evil, he's not being thrown in the bin straight away. Allah is first sending a warner to warn him. And وَأَهْدِيَكَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَتَخْشَىٰ. And I will guide you. Let me guide you to Allah, who is your real Lord, so that you can fear Him. فَأَرَاهُ الْآيَةَ الْكُبْرَى. So Hazrat Musa alayhi salam came and told him all of this, and he showed him the greatest sign. Nothing more that Fir'aun could actually come to say, to deny it, because he could see the reality of it. فَكَذَّبَ وَعَصَىٰ. But despite everything, he rejected it, he denied it, and he disobeyed. ثُمَّ أَدْبَرَ يَسْعَىٰ. He turned his back, striving against Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. فَحَشَرَ فَنَادَى. He gathered the people and he called out. فَقَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى. And he told the people that I am your Lord the Most High. Not Allah that Hazrat Musa alayhi salam is calling towards. I, Fir'aun, I am actually your Lord. So, فَأَخَذَهُ اللَّهُ نَكَالَ الْآخِرَةِ وَالْأُولَى. And Allah seized him with a punishment for from his first to his last transgression. Allah seized him, and this is by meaning of destroying him and putting an end to his life here, so that he can be taken to task and put into the punishment in the year after. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَعِبْرَةً لِمَن يَخْشَىٰ. And in that, or at least as Allah says, not this, dhalika is that, verily in that is a lesson, a warning for the one who would fear Allah. So that's a summary of the ayat, and obviously we'll deal with the tafsir as we move forward. But what you can understand here is we are dealing with, the tafsir may not be all that deep, on account of the fact, like with normal any tafsir, when it's touched upon once, and these are all things, the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam comes multiple times in the Quran, so it's been dealt with before in the past, so it's not going to be repeated every single time. So therefore we will do a more brief sort of translation, but when needed, we can fill in the gaps. So that's the tafsir. We've got 1 more minute left. Like I always say, if anybody got any questions, you're more than welcome to ask your questions. Otherwise, we are continuing for the next minute, and maybe read this one portion here, and we've got a couple of pages before we'll actually end this chapter. Anyway, so let's move on. Like I say, I'm awaiting questions anytime, so you don't have to worry about anything. You can ask whenever you're ready. قوله تعالى هل أتاك حديث موسى إذ ناداه ربه بالوادي المقدس طوى. The ayah of the Quran, Allah says, has the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. أي قد جاءك وبلغك حديث موسى وهذا تسلية للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is an ayah. Allah is directing it to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That has the story of Musa alayhi salam reached you. He says it is a tasalli. It is a means of bringing peace to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That, you are facing all of these things by the mushrikeen of Makkah. Anbiya before you also had certain things. They also faced people and things. So here's a story which will be given reality, not fictional stories. Here's a story which is going to be given to you. It is a means of bringing peace and ease to you, to your heart, so you know I'm going through what the Anbiya before me had gone through. Basically, simplified. أي إن فرعون كان أقوى من كفار عصرك ثم أخذناه وكذلك هؤلاء. That Allah is saying that Fir'aun, words to the effect that Fir'aun was more powerful than these mushrikeen. The kuffar of your time, they are nothing. Fir'aun was the all powerful of his time. Nobody could say, you know, you can take the world in today's time. You can think there's America, there's Russia, there's China, there's all the various kuffar and the transgressors, whether it be Bashar al-Kalb or anyone you may think of, but they don't have supreme power. But in his time, Fir'aun, the أليس لي ملك مصر وهذه الأنهار تجري من تحتي. Fir'aun used to say, أليس لي ملك مصر. You know, the kingdom of Egypt belongs to me. Everything there fell under Fir'aun. He had supreme and complete control throughout the entire Egypt. So it was in that Mushrikeen of Makkah didn't have that sort of strength and influence and stuff like that. So, like how Fir'aun was so powerful, the kuffar of your time don't have that strength. But despite the strength and things that Fir'aun had, Allah had destroyed him. So likewise, these kuffar too will be destroyed. And they too will be taken to task. وقيل هل بمعنى ما أي ما أتاك ولكن أخبرت به فإن فيه عبرة لمن يخشى وقد مضى من خبر موسى وفرعون في غير موضع ما فيه كفاية. Like I said earlier. So he says here, one point he says that Hal, where the ayah begin, Hal ataka hadith Musa, which I translated as, has the story of Hadrat Musa alayhi salam reached you? But what he's saying here, according to one of the Mufassirin, they say that Hal doesn't mean has. It's here, it's saying it's a negative. In other words, the story of Hadrat Musa alayhi salam has not yet reached you. But I'm going to inform you about it. فَإِنَّ فِيهِ عِبْرَةً لِمَنْ يَخْشَى. Because in the story of Hadrat Musa alayhi salam, what was the name that is opposite to Saahirah, place of resurrection? The name, the Sahur, because the only time where opposite was spoken about was Sahur, which is not exactly a place. It is a linguistic word which was meant from the point that Sahur and which was spoken about from the point of the darkness and the ghilaf, you know, the covering where the moon goes in and things of that nature. And it was then that the opposite of that the opposite of it, Sahira, was mentioned, as in a place where people are awake, not the place where things are covered and concealed and sleeping and all that sort of things. Okay, anyway, so this tafsir was saying that Ma ataka hadithu Musa, that the story of Hadrat Musa alayhi salam has not reached you, but I'm going to I'm going to inform you about the story, because in the story is a lesson for the one who takes heed and fears Allah. He says, and this is what I said earlier, وَقَدْ مَضَى مِنْ خَبْرِ مُوسَى. We've already touched on the story of Hadrat Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun in more than one place of the Quran in the Tafsir, because obviously we're in the last volume of the Tafsir Al-Qurtubi, not in the very first volume. So he says it was discussed sufficiently before, so we're not going to repeat it all over again at this point. And we will stop on this point here, inshallah ta'ala, because I've overstepped the limit by 4 minutes already as it is. And what's more is that Zoom has already told me that our time is running out. So with that being said, we will stop on this point here for tonight, inshallah ta'ala. Next week, Monday, we'll continue on from this point, which is on page 54 of the volume. Which volume is this? Volume 22 of Tafsir Al-Qurtubi. Obviously, if we're doing 22 volumes, will be a very long time. But yeah, so that's where we are tonight, inshallah. Tomorrow night, inshallah, same time, same place, obviously different class link. We'll do our Riyadus Salihin class, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. But until then, if there are any questions, you are welcome to ask them once again. If not, we will stop on this point here until tomorrow, inshallah. Okay, seeing as there are no questions, then we will stop on this point here, inshallah ta'ala, until tomorrow evening. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.